This series is dedicated to all those brave people who care more about the truth than their bad reputation as conspiracy theorists. Those who still believe in the ridiculous story that 9/11 was an attack by Islamic terrorists will find it difficult or impossible to come to terms with the content presented here. Indeed, these videos will require the courage and will to think the impossible, that the lie has not been in the world since 2001, but for much, much longer. Here's Dr. Judy Woods with her proof that the towers turned to dust in the truest sense of the word.
So what we're going to learn is that the towers didn't burn up, nor did they slam to the ground, but turned into dust in midair.
Topics discussed. I will report on the discovery that so-called Gilded Age buildings are missing at least one floor because they have been buried by earth and mud. What are basements today originally have been the first or even second floors at the time they were built. Further, I will present maps showing Iceland 400 years ago, free of ice, and countless cities in Africa and Siberia, where today is only desert, but not so long ago was a mysterious empire called Tartaria. We will also discuss the unbelievably glorious world exhibitions, which often fell victim to fires, similar to many large cities in the USA and elsewhere. Those cities were said to be built mostly from wood, but there's some evidence to suggest otherwise. Also, the widespread child trade in the 19th century will come up, disguised as dispatching of orphans. We will also discuss free atmospheric energy in the Middle Ages and much more. The history conveyed to us, that much is certain, is a construct of lies. My intention. Why do I bother to prepare all this material? I do it because you can't go into the future if you don't know about the past. The will for the much-needed reform of our society will remain weak as long as not enough people stand with both feet in reality and realize that this highly praised modernity is actually the absolute low point of human culture. All around us are buildings with enigmatic antenna-like structures on their roofs. The suspicion is more than justified that 100 years ago people knew how to obtain the much-discussed free energy by tapping into electromagnetic forces in the atmosphere. Today's energy crisis is homemade, that much is certain. My background. It's important to understand that as with 9/11, it's there for all to see right in front of everyone's eyes. You just have to have the courage to look, to think afresh, and above all, to think bigger. By that I mean, on the one hand, the extent of the knowledge that has been kept secret and what might have really happened. What we think is science fiction is the benchmark. On the other, I mean how those responsible for those actions can be confronted. Certainly there are elite groups acting in secret, people with sinister plans. But more interesting is the spiritual power that inspires them. I am interested in spiritual backgrounds, and one of the most important aspects is the knowledge about the nature of so-called evil and its purpose in our time. There is a reason that the lie is so pervasive and omnipresent. It is ultimately there for our own good, to test whether we're able to recognize the truth and stand by it. Rudolf Steiner comments on this topic in his lecture from December 30th, 1916. The absence of truth, the particular presence of just the opposite of truth, the low inclination to search for truth, the weak longing for truth, all of this is related to the karma of our time. Do not believe that thoughts, that assertions are not objective powers. They are objective, real powers, and it is quite inevitable that they will have their effects, even if they are not translated into external actions. For the future, it is much more important what people think than what they do. For thoughts become actions in the course of time. We live today in the thoughts of past times. They are expressed in the actions that happen today. And our thoughts that flood the world today will be discharged in the actions of the future. So what and how we think is of vital importance. Everything that is coming to light right now is both a revelation and an ordeal. Indignation about the conspirators and sensationalism do not bring us any further. I invite you, dear viewer, cordially to think along with a cool head and a calm heart. Please be aware that I don't want to prove anything, but only to inform and stimulate your independent thinking.